Good afternoon, good evening, or good morning, wherever you are in the world. Today, we're back with another one of Nathan Bell's commentary videos. Like, subscribe, get around what Nathan's doing. He's really trying to push things forward in culture, art, music, all sorts of things. And today, Nate wants to talk about climate change.
Yeah. Well, I certainly believe that we're changing the climate. I think it's silly that some people think we won't have an impact on the planet. I mean, the ecosystem and the environment is a delicate system. It's an interconnected system where everything works and feeds into everything else. So naturally, if you change things, it's going to throw it out of balance. So obviously, if you change things and you alter the environment, it's going to throw the system out of balance. These climate deniers, it's like they don't understand it's a system and it works a certain way. And if you alter things and you pump chemicals and stuff into the air, it's going to throw things out of whack. It's a delicate system, so and climate deniers deny scientific evidence. That's always silly to deny scientific evidence. When there is evidence and when research has been conducted and it shows that things are happening a certain way, we should acknowledge what the evidence has to say, and we should acknowledge that when there is scientific valid proof. But a lot of these people don't respect science, and that's a real problem for me. We have to respect science. Science is the way to know what the truth is in life. So if science says human beings are altering the environment and affecting the environment, we should accept that and we should acknowledge what the evidence says. But some people live in a state of denial. It's like they think we can just go on and on and on doing the same thing and nothing's ever going to go wrong. And that's a state of denial. Life is fragile, and life on the planet is fragile, and there are many things that could destroy the planet. These people who deny climate change, it's like they think there's nothing that could destroy the planet. It's like they live in some cognitive dissonance where they can't see that there are threats that could damage the planet. It's like they think I don't know what they think. They puzzle me, these people who deny that we're impacting the environment. Look at all the damage we're doing. Look at all the pollution. Look at all the rubbish. Or look at all the chemicals we're pumping into the air. Look at how we're taking things from here and moving it to there and changing everything around. The life on the planet is dangerous and the system is dangerous, and you have to accept that things can throw it out of whack and can cause it to fall apart. It's like climate deniers seem to think that nothing will ever fall apart and that the planet won't ever fall apart. But the reality of the universe is things fall apart all the time, and environments and ecosystems collapse. And the reality is the ecosystem on a planet can collapse without the impacts of a species doing damage to the planet. The various things can happen on a planet that can cause the environment to collapse naturally. Environments emerge and they last for a certain amount of time and then they deteriorate, and that is the nature of the universe. Things start, they go through a phase of existing, and then they cease to exist for various reasons. So it's not, the deniers seem to think that there's nothing that could cause the planet to fall apart, but the reality of science is, as I said, planets fall apart without species pumping pollution into the air, and without species moving things around the planet and changing the system. Systems fall apart naturally of their own accord. I often wonder what happened on Mars, because Mars, don't quote me on this, but I think they believe that Mars used to have a magnetic field, but at the moment Mars doesn't have a magnetic field, and a planet needs a magnetic field to sustain life because there's various reasons. I've forgotten them, but there's various reasons why a planet needs a magnetic field to sustain life. So what caused the magnetic field on Mars to deteriorate? This is what I'm trying to say, that systems can fall apart of their own accord without the intervention of a species pumping pollution into the system and destroying the system and changing the system. So there's every reason to think that the system could fall apart when a species is doing that, because systems fall apart on their own. Things go out of balance. It could be the case that in 100 years, all of a sudden, the Earth's molten core starts to play up, and we have volcanoes appearing everywhere all over the planet. The planet went through a phase where it was covered in volcanic activity. And that could happen just out of the blue. We don't know. We don't know when the next volcanic age will come where there'll be all this volcanic activity. That could happen. So as I said, systems fall apart and change and go through different phases and collapse of their own accord without the intervention of a species altering the environment. So there's every reason to think that if a species is on the planet altering the environment drastically, that is going to have an impact on the system, and that could do damage to the system and cause the system to fall apart because systems collapse. It's like I said, these climate deniers live in this delusional state of cognitive dissonance where they think, oh, it's just going to stay fine and nothing's, and it's like they don't understand how systems work, and they don't understand how planets and environments work, and they think it's all just going to go fine and keep working, and nothing's ever going to go wrong. That's just delusional. Things go wrong all the time on systems. There's some speculation now that there was there might have been some small level of life on Mars many millions of years ago, but something caused the environment, and that there was running water on Mars, and there's some evidence, as I've read, that there may have been running rivers on Mars, and there may have even been some level of a system or an ecosystem on Mars. We don't know yet. We're not sure whether there was any system on Mars, but it looks like there could have been running rivers. And for some reason, whatever whatever was happening on Mars collapsed. Now, we've got no reason to suspect that there was an advanced intelligent species on Mars pumping pollutants into the atmosphere. So whatever happened on Mars to cause Mars to die was a completely natural process. And this is the thing to understand. There can be planets that get to a point where they're like at the stage of the dinosaurs, where there's lush greenery and there's running rivers and there's life, and there's plant life and there's all sorts of animal life. And then the system, for whatever reason, falls out of balance naturally without the intervention of a species and collapses. So again, I want to reiterate, systems on planets, the ecosystems and environments on planets can collapse for various reasons naturally without a species pumping pollutants into the atmosphere and altering the planet. So there's every reason to think that when a species is doing that, that will have an effect on the environment. So yeah, planets collapse, man. That's the reality of how it works, and systems collapse. And climate deniers don't understand that the environment is a system. It's in a balance. It works a certain way, and if you alter it, it will have an impact. And the atmosphere could collapse. The entire environment could collapse quite easily. These people live in a delusion where they think nothing's ever going to go wrong. They don't understand science. They don't understand how systems work. They don't understand that the environment's a system. There is every reason to think that if you pump pollutants into the air and move minerals around the planet and change things and throw things out of whack, that the system of the environment will collapse. That is just the reality of how systems work. So we've got to tell these climate deniers to wake up to themselves and to embrace science and to understand and to learn and to study and to understand what is going on and to be realistic and recognize that things can fall apart at any time for various reasons. So I certainly don't deny climate change. I do want to say I think technology is the solution to climate change, and I've said in the past in my video on teleportation that if we can develop the ability to teleport matter across the planet, once we can teleport goods from one country to another and teleport goods from here to there, that will remove entirely the need for the transport logistics industry, which will cut down pollution dramatically. So if we can start, if you need your television to come from the UK and you live in Australia and you can just teleport the television into your living room, then there's no more need for the transport logistics industry, which causes a lot of pollution. And so that's an example of how technology can help us minimize greenhouse gases and pollutants going into the environment. So I think, no, I don't think less technology is the answer. I think an improvement of the sort of technology that we use is the answer, and using better technology and using it effectively, and using green energy obviously is the answer as well. We need to use green energy. And why not use green energy? Why are these people so hung up on using fossil fuels? Why does it matter? As long as we have power. Why does it matter how we get the power? Why does it matter if it's coal or oil or electricity or green or wind turbines or to some extent nuclear, if it can be done safely? As long as we have the power, Why does it matter how we get the power? You know, some people are so stupid. They get hung up on these little things. They get fixated. Oh, we want to keep the coal industry alive. Why? Progress forward and change and evolve. For Christ's sake, progress forward, change and evolve. You know, that's what species do. We progress forward, we change and we evolve. And that's what we need to do to address climate change. So drop a comment in the comment section about what you think about climate change.